All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Here with us, as promised, we have a Republican candidate for state treasurer, Dennis Milligan, on the phone. Dennis, thanks for coming back on, sir.
Paul, I'm more than happy to be back on, and thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So, obviously, I didn't have all the facts yesterday when we did our interview. I do now. I don't blame you for that. You're a politician. You've got to, get your message out. I didn't have all of the breaking news. But my first question is this. What evidence do you have that Representative Duncan Baird did anything wrong?
Well, there are two things. I have an email from the Capitol Police that your listeners need to go to. They can go to DennisMilligan.com, and that email is posted on my website. Also, there's a video that confirms their entrance with timed date stamps, Paul, that show the 4 legislators and the 2 unidentified women entering the Capitol roughly around 1:43 a.m. in the morning on October the 18th.
But that could have been anybody, couldn't it? I mean, we know
Could
he was there,
enter?
But we don't know if he was the one intoxicated. We don't know. I mean, he supposedly left before they even tried to go up on the roof. Isn't that correct?
According to the email, he was one of the individuals that went into the Capitol, and he did leave earlier than the rest of them, yes.
Okay, so I mean, what exactly, I mean, are you just trying to criticize his judgment for being with people that were reportedly, somebody there was reportedly unsteady, that was the quote. So is that what you think he's guilty of, just associating with people who might have been doing something, been drinking before and going up to the Capitol? Or
I think he may have been one of the ones that was considered to be unsteady. I don't think the email, Paul, and if you don't have it in front of you there, I'm sorry, but maybe I should have gotten it up to you. But for your listeners, again, as the email states from the Capitol Police, there were issues of unsteadiness, the way I read it, with potentially all of them.
Okay, but do you think it's conclusive proof, though? I guess that's my point. Is it's not. There's really nothing conclusive. I mean, we have. There are so many facts that we don't have. I mean, it's.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, though, Paul. There's an old saying: "Ain't much good can happen past midnight," and that's kind of an old mom story. For our elected leaders to be going to the state capitol at 1:43 a.m. in the morning with unidentified females, that is documented by an email from the Capitol Police to the Chief of Staff stating they're wanting to go to the Dome of the Capitol, that he expressed to them in the email that was not a safe thing to do, that there had been issues for one of them, and if it wasn't Mr. Baird that said the statement to him, we will get this rectified. We'll go to your boss, Secretary Martin, and get this straightened out. If it wasn't Duncan Baird, then he should have stood up for that poor policeman, for whoever did say that to him.
Yeah, but he might not have even been there when that happened, though. Your campaign, you say that you tried to let Representative Baird know about the video. Yeah, you're saying that you never
not only the video, but the
emails.
Email.
You never asked him to get out of the race. You say
no.
But then, of course, Representative Baird says you did try to pressure him to get out of the race, and then you issued a statement that said the conversation between Duncan and I is hearsay, and then, of course, Arkansas Times posted the actual audio. That makes things seem a lot more suspect. I mean, do you agree that the audit that you acted appropriately, in that meeting?
Absolutely, I stand by that meeting 100%. Because if you will, and that is the problem that we've had. The spin job that my opposition has done is they haven't listened to the whole tape. When they listen to the whole tape, have you listened to the whole tape?
Yes,
Paul?
sir. I listened to the entire 13 minutes.
Do you not listen to the part where it says Duncan? I'm not asking you to get out of the race. This is a request by other people.
Right. But I think people's question is, what is the practical effect? I mean, the perception may be, well, I never actually said Duncan get out of the race or else, but what's the reality?
Paul,
the reality is he felt pressured, according to him.
Well, then let me ask you this. If what substantiates my meeting with Duncan Baird is the fact that I could have sat back because this information was going to get leaked to the press. Whether I did it, anybody did it, and quite frankly, again, listen to the tape, I told Duncan I wouldn't release it, and I did not. But the point is, I could have sat back and let all this happen. My intentions were honorable to meet with Duncan, to let him be aware of the families, of the people, everybody that was going to be hurt.
I actually want to talk about that because you mentioned the families several times. You mentioned, the wives of people who have families and things like that. And what was your goal there in continuing to bring them up? I mean, are you trying to protect the families? Are you also, in what way are you trying to protect the women from finding out that their men, their husbands were potentially out at 2:30 in the morning with other women? How is that protecting them?
I was simply trying to pass that on to Duncan, that he needed to think, because these people, and I'm speaking of the sources that tipped me off about this FOI, that if this message got out, that it was going to be damaging to them, and I could not. I just didn't think that was proper. I'm a former chairman of the Republican Party of Arkansas, and certainly this is not good for our party, Paul.
Okay.
There are a number of factors. Mr. Baird was completely unfazed, uncold about the fact that it could even have some effect on other people's lives, and I certainly respect that.
At one point, and I'm quoting directly from the way I transcribed it, what I could hear of the video, you said of the video in question, you said, quote, "The video, there's nothing that says anything bad is going on." You go on, "But these ladies don't look like they're lobbyists. They don't look like someone that would be a part of the session. They look like they would be independent of the legislative process." Now, sorry, do you still stand by that? I mean, you still think
Absolutely.
that the girls
Absolutely.
being there, that there was a nefarious, something going on?
I'm just saying that it certainly adds to the story that there's individuals there. There's the potential, at least of the opinion of the Capitol Police, that there's drinking going on. There's actual individuals holding cups in their hands. They're wanting to go to the Capitol Dome. That's again, Paul. Your listeners and the voters of Arkansas will make that determination. If that's what they want of their leaders, and they feel like that's being respectful to the state capitol, being respectful to the Capitol Police, then I'm probably not their guy.
But you don't have proof that it was Baird. I mean, you don't have conclusive proof.
Baird what?
You don't have proof that it was Baird who was intoxicated, do you? I mean, do you have that proof? Do you have?
I don't have proof that any of them were, other than the general statement by the Capitol Police. And Paul, you're doing yourself a disjustice by not having that email in front of you. Go to Dennis Milligan.
No, I have the email. I have it right here. I've read it. I mean, I've read it several times. I read it on the show yesterday. I mean, the first half hour before I interviewed you. But my question is, I mean, what you're doing, in my opinion, it's collective guilt in a way. Because he's there, we all automatically assume. I mean, there could have only been one person who was unsteady for all we know.
You driving the getaway car, you as guilty as the man in there robbing the bank.
Yeah, but when you're talking about somebody's character, and we're not talking about robbing a bank, we're talking about, being at a social gathering. I mean, if you want to question his judgment for being at the Capitol, a taxpayer building, as late as it was, even though, I mean, the Capitol Hill apartments are, very close to that. I mean, if you want to do that, that's fine. But,
Paul,
you've said that he owes people an apology for how the Capitol police officer was talked to, but you don't know that was him that said anything.
All I'm saying is if it wasn't, then Mr. Baird needs to apologize, or should have stood up for the individual that did speak to that police officer.
So you want him to reveal who it was?
I don't know that we're ever going to get to where you want to go or I want to go on this one, Paul, as far as that goes. But again, let me say this: if the citizens of Arkansas feel like that they're elected officials, these individuals that are voted on to lead our state, if this is the type of maturity, if this is the type of decision making they want, then there's not much I can do about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you want to, I can say that if you're calling into, I questioned, possibly the judgment of doing this, and then the judgment.
Why would you want to put yourself even in that position?
The judge. I understand you're questioning the wisdom. I understand you're doing that, but I think that if you actually look at the evidence, you just don't have the conclusive proof. And then your meeting with him actually made this story a lot bigger than it was.
Let me say this to you, Paul.
And my question, hang on one second. My question to you, we're talking with Dennis Milligan, is what would your definition of blackmail be? What would you have had to have done in that meeting for people who are speculating of blackmail or pressure to get out of the race? I mean, what would you have had to have done, to be kind of hanging this over somebody's head in exchange for an unopposed primary?
I'm not even going to use that word, Paul, because that's not even that you're talking about a crime there. And if there's something that was a crime, then that needs to be handled by the police.
Okay, so you don't think when you read, you're going unless you want to see this on the 7 o'clock news. You said other people have said, here's the bottom line: you're finding a new career. You're not going to run for state treasurer, okay, unless you want to see this on the 7 o'clock news. But I know that's what the text says, sir. But when you actually listen to the conversation, I mean, to many people out there, it kind of seems like there was a little bit more there. There was some more motive there. I mean, I have it right here. Let's take a listen to it for the listeners.
Yes, you did. Do you think your wife would do it?
Yeah.
And so you're going to explain, maybe explain to his wife, and you said your wife's good with it. So,
Well,
and look, I'm not releasing this info. Other people have said, here's the bottom line. You're finding a new career. You're not going to run for state treasurer. Okay? You want to see this on the 7 o'clock news?
Okay, so do you stand by that? I mean, do you think
Absolutely.
that's
Absolutely.
an okay thing to do?
That's an okay. I have no. You played it. That was there. Mr. Barrett answered the question. Though he did say, when I asked him about what his wife would think about it, he did hesitate there just a little bit.
Well, I mean, you can't pretend. I can't pretend that there wouldn't be, some questions with all this in the news. I'm sure there are wives out there related to this that have questions if they know what's going on.
Mr. Barrett said it went on all the time, sir. He said that legislators were in the Capitol all the time after late hours.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this, just for the record. What was your, just give me in a few sentences, what was the purpose of going and having that meeting with him? What was the purpose, if it wasn't to pressure him to get out of the race? What else would it have been?
Quite frankly, it was simply to let him know that there was going to be information that was going to be leaked about his bad judgment at going to the Capitol with those individuals he went with, and the fact that there were going to be people, families, children, as I said, hurt, and that he needed to make a decision, and I was just simply the guy carrying the water. And looking back, no question, and I probably even got a little emotional with Duncan, quite simply because I was frustrated that he didn't even care about those other families or those other individuals. He was willing to throw them under the bus.
So, do you regret the meeting?
I think that my intentions and knowing my record, knowing the people that know Dennis Milligan, that, again, looking, quite frankly, toward the party, what it was going to bring, everything that was going to occur, I would have to say I'm concerned or maybe even disappointed in myself.
Okay.
I never should have. Excuse me. I've talked a lot to the media today. Never should have, quite frankly, put myself in that position. So, again, I substantiate my claim, Paul, that I could have stepped back because that news was going to break. And whether it would have been as intenseful or not, I don't know. But certainly, let me make it very clear, not getting out of the race, absolutely not, never considered it, and
do you
want to move on from it.
Do you think that... Go ahead.
I'm just saying I want to move on from it, and I do want to talk about Mr. Duncan and the actual issues of his leadership of Obamacare in Arkansas.
And you know what? I will talk about that issue. I really will. My last question is this, and I really think this is a question from the average Arkansan, who we both agree is a conservative. For all my liberal friends out there listening, but the average Arkansan who's a conservative, they listen to this meeting between you and Duncan Baird. Do you think the average Arkansan knows that kind of stuff goes on, that kind of political calculation goes on here in Arkansas? I mean, they might expect it from Washington, D.C., but do you think they expect it here?
Well, Paul, politics is not a short-legged, short-pants game, and unfortunately, some things are different people. That's what probably makes it so interesting is different people have different value systems, different ideas about what's acceptable. You know, I'm a little older guy. Maybe the younger people feel like that being able to do those things that we stated earlier, maybe it's not as big a deal to them as it is to me and some of my constituents. But that's just something that, again, is going to have to be decided a little way down the line. And look, I'm a big guy. In fact, somebody said, they were talking about Schaffner and pie, so it looked like Milligan liked pie too. And you know what? I do. But again, that's the voters, and Duncan and I have got to get our message out there and for people to determine our records. And prayerfully, again, we can move on from this. And if we can't, then we'll continue to do the very best that we can, Paul.
All right, Dennis Milligan, Republican for State Treasurer. I do appreciate you coming back on the program and allowing me to interview you again, because a lot of people in the media wouldn't have gotten that chance.
I thank you so much for that, and tell you, man, Horton, not to be so hard on me. Man, I tell you what, that's pretty tough things to say.
You were giving out soap as campaign material, so I just think that it was too good to pass up.
I accept this, Paul. I just appreciate you just allowing me. And by the way, you know who Dave Ellswick is.
Yes,
Dave
sir.
Ellswick has completely exonerated me. He and his producer have listened to the tapes, looked at the emails, and I go on record as saying in a conversation with him, and he will state it Monday, that he absolutely has no problem with my actions. So he's a respected individual, just like the Paul Harrell program is, and I certainly would be cutting myself short if I didn't make that statement.
All right, Dennis Milligan, again, thanks for coming on the program. Folks, we got to go to break. Back in a minute.
Bye-bye now.